Hi there, you're watching the Gardens and Graveyards channel, and today we are in the garden and we're about to take our middle of the month, August 2022 garden tour at home. But first, because we've had such an influx of new subscribers, thank you so much for everyone who is subscribing and liking and becoming a part of our garden community here on the Gardens and Graveyards channel. I wanted to kind of reintroduce myself and just let you know who I am and what I'm about, because if you're new, maybe you have no idea. So my name is Kirkozmia and I live on the Oregon coast, and the central Oregon coast. We are in a zone 9A, and all that means is that my frost date doesn't come until the middle of November. But because we're on the Oregon coast, basically right in the middle of Oregon on the coastline, and my garden is half a mile east of the Pacific Ocean and directly underneath the airline path. So you will hear airplanes flying over from time to time, almost every time I get on a video, really. Anyway, where was I? I'm in a zone 9A. But because I'm in Oregon on the central coast, then what you're going to see is that I don't really get temperatures above 70 degrees, which makes my garden a little unique, because typically if we're talking about someone who gardens in zones 9 and above, you're looking at pretty hot temperatures. I follow other gardeners throughout the country, and I follow someone who gardens in a 9B, which is only half a zone different than me, which just means her garden doesn't get a frost date for another 2 weeks, so the 1st of December. But she gets triple digits all summer long. And if I hit 70, we're feeling like this is too hot. Which seems kind of silly. Anyway, so you're going to notice that the flowers and the ability of vegetable growing and that kind of thing is way different than other 9s that you might have experience in. So maybe this is something that you struggle with. I certainly did myself. I would look at a zone 9A and think, why the heck can't I grow tomatoes and eggplants here? Well, I just don't have enough heat, and it's just not going to happen. I do grow tomatoes. Cherry tomatoes do pretty good. They have enough time to ripen up and do something here, but a big beefsteak tomato or something like that, and peppers, I mean, geez, forget about it, unless I want to tint them and give them extra attention, which is just not my priority. So my garden is mostly ornamentals and herbs, and I do a lot of herbal. I do a lot of herbs. So I have herbs all throughout my garden, edible flowers and that type of thing. And but mostly it's flowering shrubs, flowering perennials. I'm really heavy on the perennials. And then of course I have annuals just to fill in the spaces from season to season, especially in the warmer months. What else do I want to say? Oh, my background is in horticulture. I have a degree in horticulture and human services. So what does that mean exactly? It means that I'm very connected to the earth and how the seasons of the garden reflect in our personal lives. And you will notice that from time to time, I talk about that in this channel. And the other thing that is important to know about this channel is that I manage a pioneer cemetery in Newport, Oregon, and that's my second passion, is pioneer cemeteries and honoring the ancestors and the people of the land, whether they were the native people, the original people of the land, or they were people who founded the communities that cemeteries are found in. So the other part of this channel is we tour a lot of cemeteries, and I try to dig into the histories as best as I can. And we wander around cemeteries, we wander around public gardens and private gardens, and then when I'm not wandering around gardens and graveyards than I'm actually sharing gardening tips with you. So I hope that this channel inspires you. I am certainly inspired and encouraged to continue sharing my journey in the garden and the graveyards with you all through your subscriptions and interactions in the comments. So thank you all so much for being a part of our community, and I am so excited to keep growing with you. Now let's get into the garden. I will say this about this garden tour this month. One is, I think next year I'm gonna do 2 garden tours a month, because I took a quick peek at the July garden tour and I realized that I've had some flowers come up and go away since that garden tour. So you completely missed it unless you're following me on Instagram, which I will link that below. I do periodic updates and just a quick photo, like this is what's happening in the garden right now, because it's exciting. But some things get missed when we go 4 and 5 weeks apart on these garden tours. So next year, I think I will have a tour more often. The other thing that I want to say is it has been quite the week. My husband had knee replacement surgery a few days ago, so we have been in and out of the hospital and pharmacists and physical therapy, and leading up to the surgery, of course, I was preparing for it, so, you know, pre-making meals, so it's really easy for me to care for my husband and not have to focus on cooking and just getting the garden, you know, kind of buttoned up. And we built a couple of trellises and mulched some areas before his surgery. So we did some kind of big projects, but we haven't really been getting in the garden and doing any kind of detailing. And it's been a few days since I've been out here. So thankfully, it has been very overcast all week because the valley has been warm. And when that happens, it's what we call socked in. It brings all the moisture in from the ocean and creates fog and overcast days for our garden here on the coast, and which has been a godsend, because I haven't been able to get out here and water. And we did have light rain all day yesterday, and we've had some evening rains throughout the week. So while I know everybody would like a really good deep drink, nothing's suffering horribly, I hope, but we'll find out on this little tour that we take, because I have not been around. You're going to see that I need to deadhead. You're going to see that there are weeds. I do not take the time to, you know, fluff and primp my garden before these tours. This is just real life. And yeah, but I'm excited because I haven't been around the garden either in a few days. So let's get turned around and get started. I always start at the same place. I'm actually sitting on my back porch right now just to give you this little spiel of who I am and what I'm about. But we'll start at the front of the garden and walk around and end at the garage like we always do. And we'll see what is blooming today. Okay, so here we are at our driveway, and this is the front entry into our garden, and we're just going to take a walk around, see what's up. So our jasmine is opened, and it smells divine. She is still opening, but lots of blooms, and it smells really good. Over here, these were blooming in the July garden tour. We have rose campium and bachelor buttons. They're still blooming. These have been in bloom for a solid 2 months. Then in the privet grove, these are all privets around here. Still, hostas are doing okay. This hosta is just about ready to go. Our hostas go dormant in late September typically. This one's been getting a little more sun than it likes, so she's gone down early. The Pearly Everlasting was just coming into bloom in July, but it is now time to start harvesting. And you could see she's going going to start going to seed. So if I don't get out here soon, I won't be able to dry these blossoms. So I need to get out here and do that quickly. All right, so we're gonna look at this side of the bed first, and then we'll come back up. These lilies were just starting to bud up last month, and here they are, but the Prince of Night lilies are all done. So they are taking turns blooming in the garden. And these, oh my goodness, when the wind hits them, it just perfumes the entire garden. And we have some more blooming back there. The hydrangea has more blooms on it. Of course, we have rose campium, and the Kirkozmia is fading and being just about ready to get cut down. We'll look at Kirkozmia in a few minutes. The mums are starting to come into their season. So you see the purples, and we've got some dark reds there. Don't remember what color that one is, but it's got lots of little buds all over it. So we'll find out soon. We have a couple of Gladiolas still starting to open. Most of them have faded. You can see what that looks like there. It's time to deadhead them. And they were not ready to bloom in the last season, and now they're all done. So that's what I was talking about. I need sort of a every 2 week kind of a tour. The dahlias haven't bloomed yet. Now these dahlias got planted this spring. You could see that she's starting to get a bud here. However, this dahlia and that dahlia stayed over winter, so they actually bloomed significantly sooner than the ones that got planted this spring. So maybe next year when these get overwintered in the ground, they'll be blooming at this time of year next year. All right, we're going to pan over here. Our roses are looking fabulous. So we've got this beautiful rose and tons of buds. And the white climbing rose is looking gorgeous back there. And the yellow rose is doing fantastic. This is a blossom that needs to come off, but you can see how many buds there are. Woo, that's exciting. It's like a whole bouquet right there. And then we've got a red rose that's opened up here. And in the last tour, I had talked about this catmint needing to be cut back. I cut it back almost, probably like 6 inches from the ground. It's already grown well over a foot and starting to re-bloom. So totally worth cutting back your perennials mid-season if they're going to give you some more blooms. This arbor right here, it just got installed last year. So the hope is that this red climbing rose will come up and this white climbing rose will come up, and we'll have a red and white arbor. Then we've got this sort of coral color rose here blooming. Her head's a little heavy from the rain last night. And then this one is just budded up. The bubblegum supertunias are looking okay, and we've got some lilies in bloom there. Then over here, this is my catch-all. So when I go to nurseries and I buy things and I'm not ready to plant them, they all end up on this bench, and I'm really excited. I got some really great deals on those hydrangeas. They're going to go downstairs, but for right now they're just sitting up here getting watered because they're close to a hose. All right, so then, and to be honest, I really love that look of the hydrangeas around that bench. So we might have to do something like that with hydrangeas that stay that small. These are limelights, and they're going to get 8 feet tall, so bigger than I want in that space. All right, so we're going to keep moving on down this way and see what we have in bloom. We've got some lavender in bloom. The Veronica is kind of petering out, but I just recently cut it back about a week ago, and we've got tons of like these little blooms right here will come on and get bigger and color up probably in a couple of weeks. I've got another mum open up there. We're getting ready for fall, which is my absolute favorite season. Okay, let's see, up here, I'm gonna go to the front of the house and look back. Not a whole lot changed, I don't think. We've got some super petunias there. The black-eyed Susans are blooming now, which is beautiful. Really fun. And I'm going to show off this dahlia because it's so gorgeous. It's huge. Look at this. Oh my gosh. And this is Dragonberry by Swan Island Dahlias. All right, let's see. We've got blue-eyed grass open. These things have just been blooming for months. I think their first blooms came on in May. There's another little patch right there. Really super fun. The grass kind of looks funky to me. It's got all these dark seed heads, but I want them to self-seed. I want them to spread out a little bit. So I just leave them because they're just the most adorable little flowers. Let's see, we're gonna pan over here. There's not a lot going on over here. On my last tour, I talked about that I was going to be digging up the staghorns. Clearly, that has not happened. So we're actually gonna wait till fall when they won't have such bad transplant shock. The Russian sage is in bloom though, so that's really fun. And down here, it's kind of a wild one. This is just like a everyday Russian sage. I want to replace it with a denim and lace where it's going to be a lot more structure rather than just kind of crazy. We've got some lavender blooming here, which I wasn't sure if she was going to make it or not, but she is. And the goat's beard is still kind of blooming. It's just finishing up its bloom cycle. Still creates a lot of really fun airy structure. We recently planted this Burberry. It looks fabulous. And I'm not going to go up that way this time. The only thing that would have been in bloom possibly is the Kirkozmia, and I noticed this morning when I drove by it, the Kirkozmia is all done. So not much to see up there at this time. The Kirkozmia over here is all done. Let's walk back up this way. We've got a new flush of red hot poker. So this patch is the red and yellow traditional. But this patch is the pumpkin and clearly a late bloomer, which is kind of fun. These are the Kirkozmias. If you're not familiar with what Kirkozmia is, typically they have these flowers all along here, and this is what they look like when they're done. They're just gonna lose every one of those, and they just end up looking like that. Okay, we've got a Cleomian Bloom. This is the first time I've ever grown Cleome. And I absolutely love this structure. It's beautiful, and this is really fun. I guess they start blooming here, and then they create more buds and bloom again, and then grow and bloom again. And I don't know. I'm enjoying watching the process of that. We've got an ice plant blooming, which I'm really surprised because this rose back here got huge and has shaded all of this out. So I'm glad that it has decided to bloom this year for me. The rose bush, look at these rose hips. This is the reason I grow this shrub rose, is for these huge, huge rose hips. But see, this is my walkway, and there she is coming out right here. She belongs over here, and she's far too large for her space. I planted 2 of them. This is the second one. Just far too large for this space. So this fall, after I remove all of these huge rose hips, I'm they're going to get cut down and dug up and moved someplace they can get the size they want to get. But seriously, you guys, look at these rose hips. It is absolutely loaded with them. Really exciting. We have a cardinal flower. She's just about ready to bloom, but not quite there yet. And this is pineapple sage, and it comes back for me every year. It blooms in September. It smells so lovely. Okay, let's keep going down this way. We recently planted this hibiscus. This is the Luna White hibiscus. Look at that. I mean, she's like 18 inches tall. She's got another bed right there. Look at this thing. Look at it. Oh my gosh, it's so gorgeous. I am so excited about having this in my garden. And it looks kind of silly pressed up against this huge rose bush. But again, this bush is going to get removed. And this is, the plant is going to take her space. And it is not as aggressive, and seriously, a rose in the pathway, not the best idea. Really pokey. But, man, I'm still just thrilled with these rose hips. Okay, let's keep moving on. What do we have? We have hostas up here blooming. This thing. And we've got an orange Kirkozmia, which comes on a little bit later. It's a little bit shorter, and it is blooming its head off. I also have a yellow Kirkozmia. If it's in bloom, I'll pop it up on the screen. It's up on the upper floor. We just passed it, so let's... Okay, so these Shastas are ready to be cut back for sure. And then we have this guy, which I always forget the name of. Gladiolus. It's a Cape fuchsia. And it says it bears masses of showy, long-throated trumpet flowers. It most certainly does. Look at these. Aren't those super cool? And this super dark foliage. I love it. Of course, we have this burdock that needs to be dug up, and it's going to go to seed, so I better do that quickly. We've got Fennel that's also finally fully gone to seed. And I can harvest that very soon. They're so fun. Okay, then this is the medicine garden. I've shared a lot about the medicine garden. We're gonna do some cleaning up and cutting back and propagation in here pretty soon. I hope this week. I hope this coming week I'll be getting around to that. But we've got Artemisia and a couple of volunteer leeks. And you could see that the Nasturtiums are going wild. These Nasturtiums came from those boxes last year, no, 2 years ago, 2 summers ago. And they've just keep coming back, and I'm fine with it. I love them. They bring so much fun interest into this space this time of year. And then, of course, the white flower there is yarrow, and the purple airy-like flower in there is verbena. And then we have a patch of rose campium there as well. And I'm seeing a little patch of oregano going to flower right there. Okay, let's keep going. We've got bronze fennel. Oh, looks like she got a little heavy over here. But you could see how tall this bronze fennel is. It is a good 8 feet tall. Fun. Okay, while I'm down here and I'm just kind of panning up at these flower boxes, I cut them back middle of last week. So they have flushed out and they're full again. They were kind of leggy, but they haven't really pushed their blooms all that great. And in the July video, you will notice that that basket I talked about, it fell from there to there. And all I did is cut back the dead branches and it's come back. So yeah, it's kind of exciting. Very resilient little super petunias for sure. Okay, so we've still got some crane's bill geranium blooming sporadically through here. More Kirkozmia, not a whole lot any direction over here. We're just gonna walk on down this path and see if there's anything super noticeable. Of course, the bear's breeches have been in bloom and looking fantastic. We've got some hydrangea starting to bloom here, and honestly, I thought this was a blue hydrangea, and it's very clearly white, but it does kind of look like it has a blue hint. I don't know. We'll see if it colors up. We've got a stilby. She got too heavy. She's over here in the pathway here. Really fun, fluffy purple flower. Okay, keep going along here. This is an oak leaf panicle hydrangea, finally starting to bloom. Really excited about that. I'll just keep going here. If there's anything new. This is a mountain hydrangea. It was in bloom when we planted it. It's kind of petering out now. It has gotten a little bit of new growth. This is all like new growth right here. These like 4 leaves, which I'm happy about, which means its roots are happy, and that makes me happy. We've got another astilbe blooming right here, a white one, and a little bit of orange Kirkozmia on each side of the path. Okay, coming up into the mermaid garden. We have been working extensively on this garden this year. It's not moving as quickly as I would like it to, but it is moving anyway. All right. Again, we always like to update you on this Gunnera. Absolutely gorgeous. It did not get any taller, so I don't know if it'll get any taller than this. It kind of got to that height and stopped, but the leaves just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I really should get a tape measure on these things and try to determine just exactly how big they are. I mean, they're pretty huge, you guys. And the flower stalks just kind of stopped at that 3-foot mark too from the last tour. All right, so then there's the peanut butter tree, which we planted a couple months ago. I was absolutely thrilled about it. If you don't know what a peanut butter tree is, it's or a shrub. Sometimes it's considered a shrub. It's a Clerodendrum. This one is Bungie Eye. And look at these. It's gonna bloom. It's so happy here. Does look like it needs a little bit of water. Might be getting a tad bit more sun than it wants. I'm not sure. But I think if I just gave it a little bit more water, it'd be doing a little bit better. Yeah. But these flowers, well, these are the buds, but they'll open up white and they'll smell very similar to jasmine. But the really fun thing is when you rub these leaves and smell your hands, the oil mixed with the leaf, it smells exactly like a jar of peanut butter. fun novelty to have in the garden for sure. Let's see, we had some fuchsias open up and start to bloom. These are new fuchsias. Oh, this one dropped its petal. We've got another little one right there. New fuchsias to this area, and the spikenard looks pretty good. Got more fuchsias back here. It's just silly because they're only like 8 inches tall, and then this bloom, like, how's it supposed to... Normally they kind of dangle like this, but the plant's so little, there's no room for the flowers. That's okay. I determined that I need a little bit more mulch. These are all no-dig beds, so they're just covered in cardboard and then layered with mulch. And this was a little bit barren, and I reshaped this pathway just a tad, so I need to come back in here with a bag of mulch and re-mulch. Yeah, so just continue walking around, seeing what I see. Of course, we've got this little patch of perennials here. We've got the unplugged pink salvia, and we've got I forget all the names of all of them. These ones are going to come back into bloom shortly. I will pop the names up on the screen. This one's suffering quite a bit. And part of the reason of that is I think it may be in a little bit too much shade, and we had a mole come tunnel through underneath this one, and I didn't realize it for a little while, so it wasn't getting the proper water, and the roots were exposed to too much air. So the new growth looks a lot better, a lot healthier, but you could see that she suffered a little bit from that. Okay, and then the other weird thing is I've treated this a couple of times, but you see this unplugged salvia is just riddled with earwig damage. And then this one really isn't. So strange that they were planted right next to each other and have different issues. We've got Agastache blooming in here. Agastache. Different people say different ways, but she's blooming there. I don't have much going on here except for this gorgeous Himalayan honeysuckle. Hopefully you can see all those beautiful dangling flowers, which is my absolute favorite part of this lower garden right now. Right. Of course, I still have my cluster of plants that's going to get planted out here. This area right here is going to be a patio with a gazebo. We're going to push back all of this Gunnera and plant those panicle hydrangeas that I showed you upstairs. So as soon as we get that done, we'll bring you along on that process, of course. But I'm excited to see that little transformation take place. We're going to just come up through here. Not much going on here. The Gunnera is like full of these berries, which is cool. That's what they do. And keep going up into the backyard now. And these window boxes are starting to flush out again. Now that the weather's been cooler, they are starting to get more color back on them. This is the Laguna White, Cloud White lobelia, and this is all alyssum that I planted from seed, and this is also a lobelia but not proven winners. And I was just curious about which one might do better. And overall, the proven winners one is doing better, but not significantly so in that space. Okay, I'm gonna get turned here. You can see what this salvaged barbecue filled with salvia and sweet peas and alyssum, and it looks so super fun. And this group of Kirkozmia is all done. I recently shared with you building this trellis and planting this camellia, just doing just fine. Of course, we've got the butterfly bush here and pin cushions. Those pin cushions, I don't do anything with them, and they just bloom all season long. It's kind of fun. We've got Gladiolus in bloom. Gorgeous. Not looking their very best because it's been raining. They don't really love overhead water. They are a summer bulb, and so they really just want that, you know, heat. So I can't do much about, I try to water them down here, but I can't do much about the rains. And I've discovered I need a lot more staking available to my garden. So next year we'll be working on that a little bit. The sweet peas have reached the top of this trellis on this side, and the nasturtiums are starting to climb it. But on this side, not so much. These sweet peas have already started to go to seed. They're like, I'm not going to get to the top. I give up. Here's my seed. So, not the best choice for this trellis this year, but we'll keep trying and find out what thing is going to be the best for that area. The angel wing mix has just been going and going and going since the spring. And then we've got these guys also, which are, you know, fun, airy little balloon-like flowers. Okay, then again, this is kind of like the winter garden, hanging on but not doing a whole lot. And then we get into the theme garden, and I've been struggling with this theme garden. It was supposed to be all black and white. It's doing okay. I still have a little bit of orange Kirkozmia in there, or not Kirkozmia, Calendula. But, you know, I use calendula a lot in teas and salves, and it's really hard to just totally pull it out and say, nah, I don't want you this year, because I do want the flowers. I just don't want the color. Anyhow, okay, so what we've got in the theme garden right now is we do have some super dark purple tomatoes coming on. This one's starting to split, but it hasn't colored up, which is frustrating, but great color. It's going to be really fun. There's lots of green in there and lots of flowers. So if we could just get some heat. We've got a bunch of petunias. They're doing really good, probably the best they've done all season. Look at these things. Super pretty. Really, really fun. All right, so here is the butterfly garden in all its glory. It is covered in bumblebees and honeybees and hummingbirds galore. In the early mornings and in the early evenings, the hummingbirds are just all over that thing. Right, I'm gonna flip around here and go back into the theme garden. It is looking much closer to the theme that I was imagining, except for the buttercream nasturtium back there, which is a little too yellow. I love it. It looks beautiful. And the phlox, which was supposed to be like a creamy white with a cherry red center, is a lot more like apricot color. That's okay. We're just going with it. It's still a really fun and beautiful garden. Look at this zinnia. It is like 3 feet tall. Gorgeous. And the Nagelia, I love this flower. I've never grown it before, and I am so in love with it. And last garden tour, I could not quite figure out what the heck these things were, at least by the foliage, and it turns out they're these beautiful, beautiful dark purple poppies, which is so awesome. And then we've got and I've got the Nagelia all throughout here. We've got the lilies. These have been in bloom for at least a week, maybe 10 days. They're obviously, you know, this one's for sure done. This one's getting close. I think that's beautiful. We've got another zinnia coming open here. I do have a purple salvia in here, which is not doing, the leaves are doing good, but the flowers, I need a deadhead. Okay, we've got some hollyhocks here, which will not bloom this year. They will bloom next year. And again, more phlox over here. And I will have to say that the phlox looks better than it has all year. It's just not quite what I imagined for this space. More bronze fennel looking fabulous. More petunias looking fabulous. This dark velvety black petunia, I just absolutely love it. We have some more of this flower in here. They're just so fun and whimsical. The dahlias are starting to, they're getting ready. There's buds all over them, and these are all black and white dahlias, so that'll be a fun show that I'll get to experience. These nasturtiums have just gone gangbusters. And then we've got our little berry patch here. We've got raspberries that I need to stake and trellis. We've got strawberries that have just been performing like crazy. Look at this. Just absolutely gorgeous strawberries. And I've been getting these huge strawberries. Look at this. Look at this thing. I mean, that's pretty decent, but I've even gotten bigger ones. And the tower is doing pretty good. I've even gotten maybe like a handful of strawberries off that tower too. So it's pretty awesome for sure. All right, so getting close to the end of the tour. I think we'll just come up here. I had mentioned that I had these this plant in this pot, and I didn't know what it was, and I was waiting for it to bloom. This is the obedient flower, or obedient plant, and it's called that because I guess if you push a flower that way, it'll stay. So I don't know if you could see what I did there. I could push these out like this, and then the flowers just stay that way. I could push them back, and they stay that way. I'll tell you what though, the bees are all over this thing and they love it, and I love the color, but I was reading that they're kind of invasive, so we'll have to watch and see how that goes here in my garden. We got snapdragons. These things just keep blooming since spring. The honey supertunias look absolutely adorable. The tire planting looks great. It's been cut back a couple of times. Let's see. Our honeysuckle is suffering this year. So this fall, I'm going to cut it all the way down, try to give it some more nutrition and see what happens. This honeysuckle was here when I moved in 5 years ago, and I've just been, pruning on it and keeping it watered, and it's been fine. But this year it's suffering a little bit, so I have to find out what's going on with it. All right, so let's come over here into the moon garden and see what's going on over here. Still looking pretty good with the geraniums, and the rest of the garden is kind of quiet right now. The two different varieties of chamomile are really fleshing out, but they're not in bloom yet. And those Supertunia honey are looking good, and of course the Supertunia Vista White is absolutely gorgeous in that pot. Again, back to the butterfly garden, just looking great. These bee balms are absolutely gorgeous, but it's time to cut them back. Sometimes I can get a second flush out of them if I cut them back early enough. So it is time to do that and see if I get a few more blooms. The hummingbirds, just they open up all these little petals, and yeah, they love them. Okay, let's get back up on the back porch and finish our tour. I still have dahlias in pots back there. They're hanging on, and some of them need to go in the ground, but it hasn't happened yet. Some of them are going to get given away, but that hasn't happened yet either. Life, right? Great, so we have this group of flowers. Not much going on there. Still, this pot is my favorite container of the year, even though the kale is absolutely getting huge in here. It looks gorgeous though, but the rest of the pot looks great with these gorgeous red carnations and snapdragons and these beautiful begonias in there. Just love it. But right across from it, just a few feet away, is its mirror image, and she's not doing so great, and it does not get as much sun over there. And that is the difference of just an extra slice of sun. Pretty amazing. Okay, that concludes our tour for August of 2022. Thanks so much for walking around with me in the garden. And if you enjoyed yourself, please make sure you like and subscribe so you can stay tuned for any new videos that we post and update you on our garden and everything else going on. Until then, keep celebrating life. Bye.